Hey, what's going on, guys? So today doing a tutorial video for the continuation of editing photos 101. So yeah, let's get into it. Last time I did this, I think it was HSL and color. So now we're moving on to color grading. Now this one's kind of a little new to a lot of photographers. If you are a video editor, then you will know what color wheels are or color grading. So this is kind of going to be a little bit familiar to you if you're a videographer. But anyways, let's get into it. So for this video, I have selected a photo that was off of a website. I'm going to link it down below and give credit to the website because they do have free raw photos that you can download. And some of them were shot with different cameras, but it doesn't really matter. All you need is a raw photo. And then if you want to follow along, you can download that same photo and we can kind of go through this as well. So if you want to pause this video, go download that photo and then we can kind of go through this together. All right, so we're just going to get right into it. I have my laptop here. Gladly, I don't need internet for this, because I don't have any internet out here. Again, you don't need to choose a photo that I chose. You can choose any of the photos on that website. So again, it's free. Just pick a photo that you want. But today I'm just doing a portrait photography because I feel like portrait photography, everyone wants to know like skin tones and how to get the proper skin tones and then adjusting other colors without having to affect too much of the skin. However, color grading isn't really for isolating colors. It's more about isolating colors in a specific region in your photo. And in this case, we are using shadows, midtones, and highlights. Okay, so this Lightroom version that you currently see here is Lightroom the cloud version, so it's a little bit different than your classic version. So when you are navigating through this Lightroom cloud version, you're going to go to your color tab and then you're just going to open that color tab up. You're going to see your white balance here first, your temperature, tint, vibrant, saturation. I kind of went over this on my previous videos, so if you want to go to my playlist on editing photos 101 on my channel, then you can kind of go through all the lists right there and then you'll catch up to where we are today. All right, so in here we're going to go to color grading. You're just going to tap on that little arrow there and it's going to drop down these three wheels. Now we're just going to go over the basics of, you know, navigating through this and how to use them in a photo situation like this. Okay, so you're going to see the top 5 kind of icons up here. They're all circular. Obviously the first one you see here is 3 circles. It's representing the shadow, midtones, and highlights all in one go here, so you can navigate through them all at once. However, there are other options of kind of concentrating on each one. So the next one beside it is shadows. So shadows, boom, it makes it bigger. So you're just focusing on the shadows. This is really good if you just want to concentrate on certain parts of an image, as most photographers will try to edit, or videographers in that matter, try to kind of get a certain color in certain areas of a photo first or video, and then they'll try to globalize everything a little later. But workflows can be different. I'm not saying that's the only way to do it. Okay, so next to that, you probably guessed it, midtones. And the next one after that is highlights. And then you got this one, which is your global adjustment for across your entire photo. Okay, next you got this actual color wheel itself. The color wheel, as we call it in videography, if you know from video editing, then this wheel would look very familiar. And for those of you who are not familiar with this color wheel, you've probably seen it in applications like Illustrator or Photoshop. When you are trying to choose a color, there might be this like nice rainbowy color that you can select colors. That's pretty much what this is, but in a wheel form. All right, so a couple quick things here that I want to point out. There are some little shortcut keys that you may want to know, but first, before we get to that, I'm just going to tell you what you can do on this color wheel. So this circle right in the middle here, this is a circle that you can move around within the color wheel. Okay, so if you do that, you're going to go to blue, the photo changes to blue, and then if you go up here, it's going to turn green, and then you go to red or pink, and it's going to turn to that color, right? So that's pretty self-explanatory. But what you want to also notice is that there is another circle out here. This circle is actually something that you can go around. So let's say if you selected a certain color like, whoops, but in this moment right here, you have the blue color here, and then what you're going to do is you are going to basically move the outer circle around and then look at that inside circle. It's actually not moving from where it is. You basically set that there to however much percentage of that color you want, let's say 10%, 20%, and then on the outside color, you can just adjust that globally around the entire circle. So that's what the other circle is for. Now, as you notice, if I long click and hold here, you can adjust along the color that you want, and that is kind of an adjustment that you can make there. But also what you can also do is hold shift, and that line is actually going to get darker. So let's look at the difference here. If you click on this and hold, you're going to see that line be a little faint, and then what you're going to do is hold shift, and then you are going to see that line darken a little bit more. So you're going to see that the reason why that is because if you hold this down, and let's say you want to move this, you can freely move it. But if you just happen to go shift and hold here and then try to move this around, you're not going to be able to switch it to a different color. So that's pretty much the difference there between holding it with your actual mouse and holding it down, and holding shift and doing that. Shift is a bit more permanent, so you don't have to worry about shifting colors while you're trying to adjust that. All right, so another shortcut key, or I guess a pretty helpful feature, is if you want to get to a certain percentage of your color, let's say you're going to go 10% from the middle, then what you're going to do is you're going to hold down Command on your Mac, and then a circle appears. What this does is you can actually turn your color into different colors within that 10% range. Okay, or let's say you want to move it down to maybe halfway on the blue. You can hold Command down and it's going to go halfway on the blue, now into the green, the reds, etc., etc. So you can kind of adjust your colors that way and keep the actual percentage of how much color you want in that certain area. All right, so the next part that I want to go over is you see this hue and saturation here. These numbers, obviously you can change. You can go in here and you can type in, let's say like 300, and it'll change to whatever you want it to be. But also what you can do is if you want that slider, there's a hidden kind of arrow here, and they'll put up a drop down menu. And then this is where you can actually go and change your hue and your saturation values, like the sliders that you're currently used to and any app, even Lightroom, right? So again, you can close this down if you really want the numbers only to make it a little neater. But then after that, you're going to have Luminance. So the luminance is basically just a global adjustment on the luminance of the actual image in terms of how bright you want the colors, but this is going to affect the entire image. All right, so in what situations you are using color grading? So color grading is something that you'll use after doing white balance or any actual color adjustments that you want it to be true tone to what you see in the real world, right? So for example, let's just go ahead and I'm just going to reset everything here, and then we're just going to go into a white balance part. And again, white balance, you can use a dropper and select a neutral color when you are selecting a color with your color picker, because a neutral color is either whites or blacks or anything that actually has a pure color that doesn't have any tinting to the color. So if you can find a pure white, then do it, or black. In this case, I have black and white. You can choose either or. I'm going to choose the white here, and then that's going to automatically set my white balance. And then what you can also do, if you just want to kind of cheat your way through this, is go to auto in here, and then that's going to just kind of brighten everything up, and the algorithm in Lightroom is going to figure out what part to bring up in the shadows and highlights, so you can actually see the person. In this case, the photo is a little dark, so it's a bit quicker to just go auto and do that. So let's start color grading this, because it seems to be like the tones are pretty true right now. So what you're going to do here is I'm just going to go into the shadows first. Now, most movies that you watch right now, they're going to have a blue hue to the shadows. You can try to replicate that, but you don't really need to. Of course, this is all subjective. If you want to edit it a certain way, you go right ahead and do so. But I'm just, for argument's sake, we're just going to do it blue. So I'm just going to put a little bit, maybe like a 10% into the blues here. So shadows are getting into the blues. I'm going to go to the midtones here. The midtones are mostly skin tones, but it's going to affect everything else in the image that is relating skin tones, like orange and yellow. So when I'm going to do this, I'm going to just look at the photo, and you really just want to do a little bit of adjustments here because you don't want to go too much into the colors. So when you go through this, I would put it at maybe like 10, another 10% there. Bring out the orange. I may change that soon. And then on here on the highlights, some people just want to go a little bit orange or maybe teal. And so you can go a little bit in the greens, just a little bit. I'm not going to even put 5% on that one. So yeah, that's pretty much the adjustments there. And that's a look. Now you can go into global adjustments, and this is going to change the entire image, but I'm not going to do so here. The other thing I want to let you guys know is this blending and balance. Okay, so let's just say you basically got your midtones, highlights, and shadows all kind of good, and you got it all pretty much dedicated to what you want. Now blending is going to blend all those colors, so it's going to blend nicely, but however, that's going to make your skin tones and maybe your shadows and highlights all blended together with the colors. So you're going to basically mold the blue with the teal with the orange, and it can, you know, it can put a look onto it. I'd rather much do it in, let's say, like landscape photos where I don't really need to concentrate, let's say, for a skin tone on a portrait. So I would probably use a blending mode on that just to make it more gradual. But as far as a portrait, I would probably want to differentiate the actual skin tone away from the blue hue or the teal that I put into this photo in particular. Now the balance is another thing. Balance is basically which color that is dominant in this photo that you want to make it higher or lower to. And in this case, if I go this way, it's going to bring out a little bit more green into the photo, and then if I go the other way, it's going to get a little bit more blue. So I tend to keep this, actually, I don't even touch the balance, to be honest, most of the time, and I just go off of maybe blending a little bit. In this case, I don't want to blend too much. If anything, I want to, make the differentiation between the skin tones and the background colors. So I may go the opposite way, and a little goes a long way, so I just maybe move it like to here, and that's it. So if you see the before and after, that is before, obviously it's dark, and then after. So that is a look. However, you can do other things to it to make it even more dramatic. You can make it more warmer in the sense. So you can obviously change this up here in the color temperature. So I can kind of put that more in the warm side. And then I can go into my midtones, and maybe I just want to put a little bit more red in there, right? Again, that's another look. So if you want to experiment with this yourself, you're more than welcome to, and let me know how it goes for you. But that is pretty much the basics of the color grading, and hopefully you guys kind of understood how that works. Again, this is not something that you want to start off with. Make sure you white balance and get some color accuracy on the true tones of when you took that photo. And in this case, obviously, I don't know what it looked like. The dress could have been a different color for all I care, but if you are the one taking the photo, then you would know what it looked like. You can kind of bring those colors back to what you saw them, and then start color grading and putting that look onto it. Just another tip here, just be careful of skin tones when you are color grading, because it can change the globalness of the entire photo if you are adjusting the skin tone colors. So just be careful of that. However, you can get away with that if you are masking, and of course that is something that we're going to do in the future video. So make sure you subscribe, and make sure you smash that like button and turn on those notifications for future videos, and I'll see you guys on the next one. All right, peace.